Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's Friday, May 14th. We're very glad you're with us this Friday morning. Our agenda, as always, we'll start out with success stories. I do know of 3 different landings, and maybe we'll have somebody else on the line who's also landed. We'll then allow everybody to put their 30-second reductions into the chat box, and that way I'll get those out to everybody this afternoon. We'll then go to our committee reports, hear about workshop job fairs coming up, the practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and then the career tip of the week. And then we'll hear from our speaker today for the main event. For those people who are on Zoom, it looks like I'm checking people's names out right now. It looks like everybody's done this, but if you ever need to modify your name, you want to make sure your full name is on there. It's just good practice. Just hover over the little camera microphone button, and then you should be able to rename yourself. And that way you can put in your new screen name. That way we can, it'll be easy for me to capture that information. And then underneath it, just check that little box, remember my name for future meetings. That way you won't have to do it every time you join a different Zoom meeting. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions throughout the meeting, please just enter your questions into the chat box. For those people watching on Facebook, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I'm monitoring those, and I'll be sure to get those questions answered to our speaker. Please note this event is currently being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I took over this group. The person who was leading it got a job and said, who wanted to take over? I think I scratched my face. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. The group's been around since the late 1990s. Like I said, I've taken it over since 2007. In 2008, I started careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area by putting an up-to-date list of all the networking groups and everything that you need to know about your job search in one place. In 2012, after being invited to go to the White House, I launched careerusa.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know that is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple of minutes. Well, we like to start the meeting off with success stories. I know of 3. So the 2 people that I know about, I don't have a long story about this, that Danielle Robinson has landed at One Point Home Health as a social worker, and Raj has landed a contract assignment as a project program manager at eBay. So they make number 54 and 55. Both these people were on the 90-day list that we didn't hear from. They hadn't been with us for the last 90 days. When I reached back out to everybody, they told me that they had landed and gotten assignments. The person I heard of this week, and I know, is Jane with us today? Jane is with us. So why don't you unmute your mic and tell us your story?
Well, I'm returning to the scene of the crime, a place that I've worked before, and very excited about it. I'll be on a different project, a big top secret project with a different manager, and I'm looking forward to seeing my old coworkers again.
So how did you hear about the job?
I stayed in touch with my managers and coworkers and the recruiter from my contract agency before. And so they actually contacted me.
Oh, very good. So how long a process from the time they contacted you till you accepted?
Well, they asked probably over a month ago whether I'd be interested in coming back. And then I heard nothing for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it just started snowballing. It got approved on Friday, and I had my first meeting on Monday, and it snowballed pretty fast after that.
Went pretty quick. Well, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for congratulations. Hopefully we'll never see you again, but there's a good chance that sometime in the next few years you will be back. So congratulations, Jane makes number 56. Do we have any other landings? Any other landings in the group? Please unmute your mic and let me know. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Well, congratulations to Jane and those who have landed. All right, what we need everybody to do now is please open up your chat window, and we'd like you in the Zoom chat box or in the Facebook comment field, please put your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, and then 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. That way everything will get put together in one little line. It makes it easy for me to copy over, and I will get that out to everybody in the email this afternoon. For those people who are watching on Facebook, I will go delete your personal information right after this meeting's over, so it won't hang out there forever and ever. So we'll put 30 seconds on the clock. Keep on typing right now. Get your information in there. We'll get that out to everybody. And think about help one person every day. Try to see this afternoon when I put this list out, go over the list and see what companies you may recognize, and if you happen to have a lead or contact there, please try to reach out to other people and try to help them out, because it would it's just very, very beneficial if you can. All right, it's time to hear about job, career fairs, training workshops coming up. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy Friday, everybody. As Jeff said, my name is Eldon Zarinsky, and I bring to you every week career and job fairs and special workshops or event announcements. The information that I'm about to cover comes from the website careerdfw.org, which you're seeing on your screen right now. The calendar has many tabs on it. I focus on the career and job fairs and special networking or special workshops or events. And if you hear something that is of interest, I urge you to go to that tab on the calendar, click on that item to learn more about it and or to register for it. All right, having said that, this week's career and job fairs, a little sparse this week, but we do have the United Electronic Recycling event. It'll be held Saturday, May 15th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Christ United Methodist Church at 3101 Coit Road in Plano. And I think this is the week that they might do the paper shredding. It's the 3rd Saturday of each month. Otherwise, they focus on electronic recycling. This week's special workshops or events. Networking Mondays online. Join Career DFW and CareerUSA.org each Monday from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. Central for Networking Mondays. There's a Zoom link on the calendar for that, as well as a Facebook link. Also online, Employability with a Background seminar will be held Monday, May 17th. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Cross City Church of Euless for the sponsor, and this is online, and there is a link to register, and advanced registration is required. Online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on how to use LinkedIn effectively. There's a Zoom link for that and a Facebook page for that as well. Online again, CSN Recruiter Roundup, Tuesday, May 18th from 6:45 to 8:45. There are several area recruiters that are getting together online for you to talk about various things. These are all senior talent acquisition executives. Many of them are very familiar to you, I hope. Gail Houston, Rex Shoet, Abby Kohut, Paul Cameron, Rick Martinez, Andy Cook, Mary Leone, and Shelly Casino. And again, there is a Zoom link for that. Tuesday, May 18th from 6:45 to 8:45. The Who You Know Career Transition Summit, also online. It'll be held Wednesday, May 19th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. This is a meeting that's hosted by Foster Williams, and it's open to all job seekers. If you don't know Foster, I urge you to get to know him. He's very well known in the area. Online interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. This is a 13-part workshop that's put on by our own Mark McDonald and Walt Glass. This week is session 3. STAR stories, a deep dive, how to answer behavioral interview questions using the STAR format, when to tell a STAR in reverse order, using STAR stories to build rapport, and overcoming the urge to over-communicate. STAR stories about older achievements are still valuable today. I urge you to participate in that. And again, that's Wednesday, May 19th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Resumes Thursdays online sessions are hosted by certified professional career coach Carol Brickell. It'll be Thursday, May 20th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And finally, the third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast will be held Friday, May 21st from 7:40 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is currently online, and I urge you to participate in this if you have any interest in the Internet of Things. They usually have a very good speaker. And if you want to find out more information about this, I urge you to contact Ed Hightower. And again, that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. All right. If you know somebody who just lost their job, they just now starting out in their job search, please tell them to go to Career DFW, tell them to go to careerusa.org. Let those two websites help somebody out in their job search. There's a great one-page article. I just got laid off. What do I do now? And there's all sorts of great information there with checklists and everything that may be beneficial to anybody who's sort of lost and doesn't really know what to do. All right, time to hear from the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. And I'm going to start off today by saying the pit crew is absolutely free, no cost, because I always forget to say that. So we're a group of volunteers. We started meeting. Jeff knows the answer. Sometime close to when he started leading the group, or 2008, I think, is when the pit crew started to meet. It was very informal at first. A few of the people who were attending Jeff's meeting on Friday would get together and they would give each other interviews. And after a few weeks of doing that, they got bored. You know, how many times can you interview yourself? And so they started opening it up to outside people, and it's been going ever since. And now that COVID's here, we do it virtually. So we're all about giving you a chance to practice your interview skills. And it's not just generic practice. It's very focused practice with a purpose. You provide a job description and resume, of course, and I provide the hiring managers to give you the interview and give you feedback on your interview. So that would imply that you need to have an opportunity in hand to come and practice with, but not necessarily. You can practice against any job description that looks good to you and around any goal that you have in mind. So I'd like for you to have a purpose. If your purpose is to change careers, then you should come and practice training for interviewing for jobs in that new career and just see how you do, see what kind of questions you get. Similarly, if you want to change industries, let's say you want to stay an accountant, but you want to go from hospitality to restaurants or something like that, then that's a good reason to practice as well. And if you haven't practiced in recently, things are changing all the time. So just come and practice to build your skills. We want to get you to the point where you're confident in your interviewing and your ability to answer questions. You kind of have an idea of what's going to happen in the interview, and then you can focus on building rapport, making a connection with the interviewers, even if it's a group, even if it's a panel. So this is all the things that the pit crew offers you, and you get it started by sending in a job description and a resume and the time that you're available 2 or 3 days from now. So I'm ready to start scheduling for next week. We have one interview this afternoon, and next week is completely open. So opportunity is hand, get that job description, resume, and send it in to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. And don't forget, it's not going to cost you anything. And Walt will say this, but let me say it as well. You don't have to be well prepared to come and practice. You need to be well prepared for those interviews that count. But any state of preparation is good. We do this all the time. It's a safe and supportive environment. You'll get some feedback, and that'll benefit you. You'll be a much better interviewer every time you practice. So that's the pit crew. Let me post up now that Jeff's showing my contact information. I'm going to put it on the chat window there. There's also the pit crew phone number if you've got a question, or if you just want to find out if a certain date is available, give me a call and I'll let you know. I encourage you to link in with me, and all you need to do is send me a brief note that says we met on Friday, Jeff's group on Friday. And that's good enough for me, North Dallas Career Focus Group, and I'll add you to my network. And of course, the benefit of having me in your network is additional contacts for your target company. So you can search on LinkedIn for my name, include that middle initial. You can search Pit Crew, and I'll show up close to the top. I should be easy to find. And so finally, we're on session 3 of the interview webinar, and Eldon did a good job of telling you what it's about. It's all about star stories and in general structured stories and how to use those stories and when to use them and to be effective. It's a very powerful session. There's a lot to unwrap in every session that we have. So this Wednesday and then is star stories, and then the next Wednesday after this coming Wednesday is video interviewing. So that's a really good session as well. So it's well worth your time, 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoons. And they're also recorded. Jeff will tell you where you can find the old versions. So this series of 13 is exactly the same as last series, the one we did earlier in the year in January, February, and March. So if you want to go and look at a particular session, they're all there on Jeff's YouTube channel. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Mark. All right, good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone. Star stories. So, pack those in with stories about the Big Dipper and Polaris and all those things, because that's really exciting stuff to talk about in an interview. But come learn about star stories next week. Well, I also like to help people with the interviewing skills and confidence. And my approach is a little different. Why I heartily recommend the Pit Crew. I would like to start out with the fundamentals of the 11 categories of questions, the options, the strategies, the potential structures and ways that we might respond to those categories. What's the motive behind the question? We always want to look at why this question, why from this person, and why now. And we want to sell ourselves. Well, how do we sell ourselves? Well, we sell who we are, what we do, and how we can help, the 3 things that companies are buying. We would also like to be able to know how to differentiate ourselves in a very positive way from other candidates. So that is the focus of the workshop. It is free. Look me up on LinkedIn. There's information about it. You need to be registered to attend. And there's no need, while we are trying to figure out how to improve ourselves, to have to feel like we're sitting in a hot seat. So come on down, send me an email to register, and we will have our session where we have learning without squirming. Well, does interviewing make you squirm and writhe and wiggle like a worm? I continue to say you should practice today. It will make your search short term. Oh, P.S. There's some basic information. You know where it's at? Well, take a look at your chat.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right, it's time for the career tip of the week, and you can find the career tip of the week every week on the Career FW Career USA website. It's a new tip every Saturday afternoon. Karen, good morning.
Good morning. 10 questions to ask in a job interview that will really expose a company's culture. This is by Karen Eber, CEO and Chief Storyteller of Eber Leadership Group, an international consultant, keynote, and TED speaker. So you are in the last 5 minutes of the job interview, and the interviewer asks, what questions do you have? Time is limited, so you ask the question you think will be most helpful. What is the culture like here? Don't do this. There are better questions to understand the culture. The interviewer will typically respond by describing values of the company. Their reply will have some variation of trust, collaboration, transparency, and integrity, which are the same values that show up in various forms in many companies. These don't help you understand the day-to-day experience. Culture is felt through the behaviors that are reinforced or discouraged on a day-to-day basis. If you want to get a sense of the story of the leader and team's culture, use detailed questions. You will get a much better sense based on the responses. especially if the leader struggles to think of what to say. If you are a manager, prepare to answer detailed questions that illustrate your team's culture. Better questions to ask a hiring manager. Tell me about a time a team member changed your mind. This lets you know if the leader feels they are the only one who has the answers or if they are open to different opinions. You're going to learn how they prefer to receive information and what they value. Tell me about someone you are proud of. This is going to let you know which behaviors and skills they value. You can also learn their attitude towards developing people and celebrating success along the way. Do you fully disconnect during holidays and vacations? This helps you understand, does this leader believe in boundaries and having time off and space that is protected? Or is this someone that will be calling you on your holiday? And will that work for you? Describe a recent success or win. They should be able to come up with something pretty quickly. If they can't, that might indicate that they aren't great about celebrating progress or recognizing people along the way to milestones. They don't have to describe a huge win. However, they should be able to think of a recent event that demonstrates progress. Tell me about a disagreement or conflict on the team. Every team is going to have conflict. It is a great way to generate ideas and different thinking when the team has the right tools to navigate constructive conflict. You want to see if the leader says, "We don't have conflict." This could mean that different opinions aren't welcome and the team sits in silence. Or the leader is trying to avoid the hard conversations that yield better results. The leader should be able to talk about people having different opinions they had to work through. How did you start your last team meeting? Did they jump right into the agenda? Did they have an activity or conversation to learn more about each other? You can learn a lot about interactions by how they begin meetings and conversations. What is your ideal person for this role? This is a great way to understand what the leader values and the knowledge, skills, and behaviors they view as making their work easier. They will probably describe the person's organization, communications, skill set, or certain outcomes achieved. This response helps you get an idea if you fit with the leader's ideal candidate. Who have you promoted and why? If the leader has never promoted anyone, probe further to understand what is done to develop people. If they are a newer hire manager and haven't had the opportunity, ask what they are going to help grow and develop their team. It is okay if the leader hasn't promoted anyone. What you want to hear is the thought around it and how they view their role in developing people on the team. Tell me about the last person you recognized. Recognition can be a thoughtful conversation, an email, an award, or even a mention in an all-hands meeting. You want to see if the leader struggles to come up with an example or easily mentions individual and team recognition. Does the leader have the mindset that development includes helping people see the contributions they are making? How do you focus on your own growth and development? Does the leader mention reading articles, listening to podcasts, reading books, having a mentor, taking courses, or having a coach? Are they actively trying to develop themselves? If they are developing themselves, they are more likely to develop their team. If they aren't, you want to understand why. If they blame their schedule or struggle to find an answer, then odds are good your opportunity for development will be pushed aside. In summary, don't waste your opportunity to learn more about your prospective employer in an interview. Ask these questions that help you get the experience of that leader in that team. Culture is experienced at the team level, and every culture tells a story. Ask them about these specific moments to better understand the experience of the leader and the team.
Karen, thank you very, very much. I think I love these 10 questions. So hopefully you will go back, get them copied, write them down, make them on your little cheat list. So when you do go in for an interview, you get a couple of these questions asked, because I think these are some really great questions. When I saw this article, it really jumped out at me as some really valuable information right here. Thank you very much. All right, coming up in just a couple minutes, we're going to hear from Rick Martinez, who's the president and CEO of R2 Technologies. He's going to talk about why your next job should be a contract role. Coming up next Friday, we'll talk about, let's see here, we'll talk about the job search optimized and the QTNT personal value calculation process, how to value your job search. So it's an interesting process. This is from Rick Gillis, who's out of the Houston area. So join us next Friday for that. And then on the 28th, last Friday of the month, Alicia Voltmore will be with us. She's going to talk about labor law. She's a labor law attorney. She works for companies, so she'll be able to sort of talk about things. And I'll put a questionnaire out if anybody has any specific questions about labor law that you'd like to have answered. She will be able to answer most of those questions. But you just have to remember, you can't talk about any specific company, but it's always a very interesting presentation with her. All right, well, it's time to hear from Rick about why your next job should be a contract role. I've known Rick for many years. He's spoken to us over the years. He's come and spoken to the group many times over the last several years. So Rick, good morning, and please tell everybody about you, and it's all yours.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So let's see, Jeff, can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yep, you'll be able to do that.
All right, I'll get there right now. I'm always excited talking to y'all. This is a great group. I really enjoy the time and everything. So, and I appreciate it being on a Friday, everyone taking a few minutes to let me have some time in dialogue with you. And there we go. As my screen comes up. I'm so glad today's such sunny weather and comfortable again. I wasn't sure middle of the week what was going on.
See,
Okay.
we're not seeing the full slideshow. We're seeing the full slideshow underneath there we go. Now we're full screen.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit slow on my side too. So do you see an agenda slide now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I want to take some time. Jeff, by all means, I appreciate any interruptions. I prefer having questions as they come so that we can kind of address them when they're most important. So, and I really enjoy questions for a number of reasons. We'll talk about that. But yes, by all means, hopefully you all will be able to help me clarify some things. And I also welcome other perspectives, disagreements and all, because that just gives us two different points of view. So I want to, here's what I want to talk about, a little bit about me, but more specifically about the North Texas marketplace. Who do I think is hiring? Then let's talk about what this gig economy is. We hear about it a lot. We see and read about it in various publications. How can that be another part of your job search, how to position yourself into this gig economy? And if you do want to look into contract work, why I want to encourage you to do that and how you can get started, what are the first few steps? So briefly about myself, actually I have a technology background. I have a degree, an MIS degree out of Trinity University. I got hired right out of college to go work for Texas Instruments. I was back then they did defense contract work. I'm sure some of you may have remembered that. And I actually worked on the workflow management system of the Harmon Payway missile systems groups for various aircraft in the military. From there, I moved into PepsiCo. I worked for them for a few years. I built them a forecasting model in their manufacturing. And even though it's potato chips and Fritos, they take their work very seriously, snack products, and it was very interesting building their forecasting model for that. From there, I went to go work for Mobil Oil, and at the time, and also for Citigroup, helping launch and build their business intelligence practices. And then I also had consultant engagements at Fidelity Investments, Sprint, and Verizon. So I've been a professional for a number of years, and the last 24 years, I started my own company. It was a IT placement and consulting company. I've been in business now 24 years. And this has been the best opportunity of my life. And the way that I look at it is that I actually have an opportunity to help people grow and form their careers. I simply put, I help people pay their mortgage, and then I help people send their kids to college. And it's very warm, very satisfying. And I've always been excited to do in this. So, and I'm also hoping that I can share back a little bit of this and share those insights back with you and each of the individuals. But let's talk about North Texas. When I used to have my discussions and share things, I used to just say DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we are really a North Texas-based economy. You now need to add Alliance Airport. You got to add Irving, Las Colinas, even Waco and Denton. So now I'm broadening myself, then you should as well to look at things from a North Texas standpoint. So let's be a little bit more specific. So even in 2020, with everything that we had from the pandemic, the North Texas led the nations in job growth, and that's coming from the U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics. We had still large companies relocate. Charles Schwab has a very large facility in Westlake. CBRE moved their commercial real estate corporate headquarters from the West Coast here to Dallas. And then any one of you driving out to the airport can just see the large distribution centers that Amazon is doing and the jobs that they bring there. In the last 90 days, with the Dallas Chamber of Commerce, they have identified 102 major corporations that are considering moving here to North Texas. And things have not slowed down from a relocation standpoint, even with our pandemic and all. Companies are very interested, and people have announced it on a weekly basis that there are a number of companies, and that's all great for us here with new opportunities and such. Just in the last 24 months, we've had 75 companies relocate, either their national or their international headquarters. I believe I read that a division of Caterpillar from Peoria or Bloomington, Illinois, is now moving here to the Dallas. I think they're moving into Las Colinas. So that's all great for us. That's all new opportunities. That's all new job growth. Let's talk about the labor market. Not as good as we want, not as good as we talked about last year. Unemployment is nationally still at just over 6%. Texas slightly higher than that, 6.9. DFW is right, or DFW North Texas is ranked back the same as the national average. And my presentation is slanted a little bit more for IT and technology because that's where my business, that's the sector that I focus in. So we're very interested in this. And that has stayed constant for the last 3 years. We have been under 2% in unemployment for information technology professionals. So one other thing that's really interesting, and if you're starting to get out on the roads, you'll see the roads are beginning to get full again. We actually 1,600 people a day are moving into the North Texas area. Wow, that's 1 every 2 minutes. So people are moving here. You may have read on the news last week, Texas gained 2 congressional representatives, taking them away from California. We are #1 with the number of people moving to Texas from any other state in the union. So we have something for that. I think I'm sharing with you why that is. And then, of course, what also happened is 99,000 jobs were added in April just in Texas. This is lower than what they anticipated, but 99,000, those are all jobs across all professions. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But that's, we believe the economy is recovering. We believe we didn't have the same dip that a lot of the nation had. I believe in my business, I like to think of professional placement, professional staffing. We're kind of like the canary. We are the first, our industry is the first to see indications of a slowing of the economy. And we're also seeing the indications of the economy coming back. Because what happens when the economy starts to slow, most of the time, the first thing that happens is that people stop hiring. They start pulling in their purse strings. And then what happens when there's a recovery? What happens when you start seeing new activity going on? The first thing that you hear is they have to hire staff. I have had various meetings with various decision makers, and they all saying, I'm finally getting the headcount that I'm approved. We've been working on an understaffed team for a long time, and I'm finally now able to start hiring and filling these positions. So North Texas, the marketplace. We are now number 3 in technology jobs, number 3 in the U.S. as a marketplace. All the industries across the sector added jobs. Remember the 99,000? The leader of adding jobs, I should say, other than the government sector, that stayed flat. But the leisure and hospitality, I mean, you probably heard of the airlines bringing back a number of their pilots, a number of their mechanics, another of their flight attendants, same thing from the hotel sector as well. They added 23,000 jobs. Construction is back. It increased another 19,000 jobs. It's another area. And then, of course, we have our professional and business services that also had a gain of 14,000 jobs. So, if you know, you could be thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to swing a hammer. I don't want to check somebody in, but all these jobs still have professional roles that are assigned behind it that keep everything running. So these are industries that you should probably have as your part of your job portfolio. These should be areas that you want to go ahead and focus on these types of companies so that you can go back and look and add that into your recruiting job search plan. Yeah, I would suggest to do these 3 industries or sectors because again, I should have had this quote, but D.R. Horton had a huge profit for first quarter, and they're based in Fort Worth, and and they're of course in single family home housing, so they think their hugest quarter in their history. So that's just coming back to construction jobs or so. Again, you also want to look at things as new opportunities. I'm sure some of you, a lot of you, I know all of our children have done many things with the delivery services, getting their food delivered, getting their toilet paper delivered, getting anything that they want, either on an Amazon or on an Uber Eats or on a Favor or something or so. Well, all those types of industries have supporting positions and supporting jobs. So my point here is that the new era that you're in, it's also going to create new jobs in consumer goods, entertainment, logistics, like I mentioned here with the personal drivers, as well as distribution, as in, for example, Amazon, UPS, and DHL and such. We're also seeing activity in the broadcast and video construction. I mean, a year ago, if you would have said Zoom, I would have thought you were driving a car or on skates. You know, now who doesn't know what Zoom is and what they're doing? Social media advertising, because people are more online as opposed to face-to-face interactions. So social media advertising is also something big. If you're in a marketing background, that's probably another area, another portfolio you should be looking into. And then companies, because they're moving into this type of 24/7 service offering, they do need people to help support those various time zones, those various business units. They're now staying on longer, and there's really no typical just 8 to 5 type of availability or such. So again, my goal here is to help you think of areas or industries, ideas, companies that you see and read about that you should be adding as targets that you should look into for employment opportunities. So let's go ahead and now get into maybe I'll take a second. Jeff, did anybody have any questions about the economy? And I'm sure y'all have better details than I do or so. But I want to talk about how do we get working in what's being called this gig economy. What are we going to do? So let's first say, okay, gig economy. Here's why it's important. The gig economy, studies show by 2023, folks, 2023, so that's 2 years from now, more than half of all professional jobs will be contract or temporary. A lot of us have only grown up in full-time positions. If you've heard me speak before, I'm sure you've heard me say there's no such thing as a permanent job. It's better you take that out of your nomenclature. You don't think you hear talent acquisition. They don't say that often. They're full-time jobs and they're contract jobs. I make the joke that the only thing permanent is taxes. So other than that, you want to look at both contract positions and full-time roles. And this is the reason why. If you're only deciding to look just at full-time positions, you're going to be missing more than half of the jobs and opportunities that are out there. We're also seeing independent work will continue to grow over the next 10 years. And it's going to grow, I believe, as much as 80%. 80% will be temporary work. People may think, well, that's only because of COVID. It's only because of the pandemic. I believe that the pandemic only accelerated the rise of remote work and the rise of contract work. Right now, independent contractors, the consultants, 85% of them say at least they're working remotely part-time. 40% of them say they're working remotely all the time. So instead of, hey, I'm not going to move. I love my house. I'm only 30 minutes from my lake house, or the grandkids are here, because they now the opportunity of having remote work. You should now look at contract work that could be in Chicago or Atlanta, Miami, Denver, LA, Seattle, because they are very open to you being 100% remote.
Hey, Rick, can I ask you a quick
Yeah.
question? You said we can interrupt. That is, the biggest thing right now. So I'm not in Dallas, I'm in Atlanta, but for example, say a company you're interested in says you got to move or do something. Can you throw back at them like, well, would you be open to, remote work or whatever? Because I think the biggest deal for some people is they want their position back. They want to work for a certain company, but I think there's a little give now in how things work. So what is your opinion, or how can you kind of negotiate with a company? And it didn't maybe say virtual or whatever, but maybe say, is there a virtualness to this position, or are you set on it must be in person?
And I love that. So a lot of my questions. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you answer your question, but in this manner. I own and run a placement firm. So my goal is to help sell and market candidates to a potential hiring authority, to a potential company. So to answer your question, what I would suggest you do is, let's say you are looking at this position at another location, and initially it's saying that they want the person to relocate there. I would, from a marketing standpoint, and it's okay to disagree with me, I would say I'm open to doing that. I live in Atlanta. I'm open to moving to Chicago. That could be, something I would evaluate, and get through that first round. And what I mean by that is get a hook into them, get them to want you and have some interest. And so now you're in your second interview, your third interview, and then at that point, so that's still an option. It's one thing I'm looking at with other opportunities. And then as you continue on that dialogue, then you want to bring up just what you suggested. Is there a flexibility? Can I do this remote? Would it be a possibility where maybe I'm there for 90 days and then I can just come and start doing things there once a week, a month, and then you can do it that way. And I suggest it that way because if you have a hook in them and they see some value in your talent, they're going to be open to listening what you're asking about. If you say, put that wall up on the day one before you even talk to them, they're going to say, okay, you could be a good candidate, but I'm going to go ahead and look for other people because you're telling me that's a requirement for taking this job. So that would be the way I do it, because I'm coming from a marketing standpoint, and I'd rather be able to negotiate and have some value in that dialogue once they have high interest that you're the person that they want to hire. That would be my answer to that.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and I'll put that kind of spin on everything because we're trying to market that candidate to get hired, and that'd be the way that I would address that. Okay, other things is that our children, these younger folks, they're more interested in contract work. They're so big on quality of life. They're the snowboarders. They're the surfers. They're the people that want to go watch the Masters and spend the summers in the beach. And so they're okay with doing contract work because they'll just pick up another job in the fall. or they'll pick up another job in the spring after the snow season's over with. So that's also going to accelerate the contract work. And the thing about it is when you start looking at it from this perspective, a contract assignment is going to give you a lot more autonomy and control over all the things that you want in your career. One of the earlier speakers said, if you were in hospitality and you want to move into a new industry like manufacturing or pharmaceutical, doing contract work is a great opportunity to get this kind of exposure. And you can do that as a full-time position and you're working in hospitality. Yeah, you're not going to get exposure to pharmaceutical. That's just not going to happen. Contract opportunities are the way to make those kind of changes into different industries. So let's talk about it. Advantages and disadvantages. And there are both when you talk about consulting. But I believe it's definitely worth managing. It's definitely worth things that are not high risk, but you just still need to be aware of them. So let's talk about the consulting advantages. At the top level, your pay is going to be higher. And it's going to be higher because there are things that you're going to have to address that the company will not have to worry about. Another advantage of consulting is, and I don't want to be your tax advisor. I'm going to make this only caveat in my entire presentation. I would highly recommend you talk to someone that is your CPA, your accountant, someone that is very understands the business deductions, but this is generally the area that you could look at. If you decide to pursue consulting, you can write off your cell phone. I look at that bill every week and I'm glad I can. You can write off your internet charges. You can write off buying that new laptop, the new tablet. You can write off parts of your mileage and tolls. When you want to go in there to get that CISSP certification, that PMP, when you go and get coaching, you pay for coaching. Those are things that you are tax related. There are other things as well. But the point is you do have some tax advantages there. You do have flexibility, like I talked to you before. Because it's contract work, there are going to be gaps. There are going to be opportunities between contracts, and you can pick how long are those gaps a little bit. You do have a better work-life balance because in the olden days being as much as 10 years ago, client budgets were like, hey, contractor, if you want to work 50-hour weeks, 55-hour weeks, you're going to get the project done, go after it. Today, contract dollars are budgeted by project. They're budgeted by a PO or an SOW, and they are going to be there on a 6-month assignment. They times 173 hours a month times 6 months, and they get whatever it may be, 600 hours, 680 hours. And you know what? If you happen to work that in 5 months, then your contract's over usually. So again, you do get you're not going to be working, generally most of the time, you're not going to be working 70, 80-hour weeks. The difference is if you do, you will get paid for it. And now you have the flexibility. Remember I said 64% of these professional jobs are going to be contract. You're going to have more opportunities, more jobs that you can that are going to be looking at you for your opportunity to join them and be there. So you can pick the direction that you want to go. Like anything else, there are some disadvantages. You have to plan for some breaks in contract. Typically, I was a consultant, so I went from a full-time employee when I was at Texas Instruments and Mobil Oil and PepsiCo. Those were all full-time positions. Then I went to contract roles at the Fidelity and at a few other companies or so. And I never had a gap. But you need to plan for gaps. You know, sometimes you can plan for a gap a month, a year, or something like that, but you need to. There's administrative tax. You need to be able to bill someone so you can get paid. There's some invoicing. What's an invoice? Oh, let me tell you, it's fairly straightforward. There is some accounting. Remember I told you about those tax breaks? The IRS is very open for you to taking meaningful business tax breaks, but you have to document them. You have to be able to support them. I have shoe boxes. Before I started my company, I had shoe boxes where I have my receipts and they would just be rotated around. So you have to have some kind of accounting system. You are going to have to be required for filing your taxes. You know, back when you're a full-time person, back when you had somebody else paying on your FICA and your Medicare, It was all fine. You saw the deduction coming out of your paycheck. Now you gotta carve out money. Hey, I'm getting paid this much money an hour, and I'm now gonna get a new car, or I'm now gonna get the remodel or that outdoor cooking area. Well, you got to remember that you got to pay your taxes quarterly, because that's what the IRS is looking for. Lastly, most importantly, most of the time you got to find your own healthcare. And guess what? Healthcare is not cheap. For an independent person, healthcare is not cheap at all. Luckily, some of you may have spouses that's taken care of. Big check mark there for sure. You want to do that. If you want to get into training, then you got to plan that in the budget of your contract rate. Vacation. Remember, you're not getting paid for vacation. That's going to be paid in there. Those are all on your own. And you know what? There are times when you think, hey, I'm on this year-long contract. It's all 100% remote. I'm good to go. I'm making a good rate. And next thing you know, 5 months into it, that company gets acquired. 7 months into it, there's a situation that happens, and the thing about a contract is it can end prematurely. However, you think of it this way: a full-time position can end just as quickly. I mean, there's really not that much difference. Full-time positions, you might get 2 weeks of severance, but that in all instances, that's really about the same thing. So, but if you plan for it, you should be good. And that's something that you need to be aware of. So, how about it? I want to do this. Where am I going to find these jobs? Will Monster have them? Career Builder? A lot of times, sure. But Jeff has this presentation. He's going to put it out on the website. I'm free to you all share with anybody and everybody you'd like. Here are some examples for big jobs. These are just contract work, and I kind of put them up there. Upwork seems to be the leader today. Upwork has all kinds of jobs, a pretty good search engine, a way that you can identify by industry, by skill set, by level, by pay. Freelancers are pretty good as well. I haven't been on this as much, but just go and look at these. Create your subscriptions. Go ahead and add these as part of your job search, and I think you'll be helpful. If you want to look at, and all of them have different types of specialties on there. Whether you're an IT professional, Topple could be a good one. Fiverr is great for, we have used Fiverr ourselves for graphics design and everything. But look at all these, find which ones you're most comfortable with. These are the ones that we know of as of, I think it was a week ago when I did this presentation. So these do change a little bit, but I think they're a mainstay. I like them as well. As none of them have, all of them been around over a year. Couple years or so, and
Thanks for mentioning Upwork. That's where my daughter works at now.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask about that, Jeff. Yeah, out in the Bay Area, right?
Well, she's 100% from home. It's totally there is no, they have no offices anymore. Everybody works from home. So, but yes, she's now working for Upwork.
Nice. There you go. All right, but I got a bonus points on Jeff's calendar for that. All right, so like I said, we're sharing this presentation. This is the place to go. So, all right, let's say I'm interested, Rick. I don't know if this is really true or not, but I'll give it a try. You seem like a nice guy. I don't think you're just wasting my time. So how are we going to do this? All right, like anything else. Okay, you're going to be a one-man person. You're going to be a business. You are now a business entity in the world trying to make money. Guess what? You need a business plan. Now, you can go and get a spreadsheet, you can go and buy a book, you can get a little mobile app, take your pick. But these are the simple things on it. An executive summary. What do you think that you can do in a succinct message way that you can charge and earn money by? Why is it unique, and what do you bring to the value? Second thing is your market analysis. Well, I am a logistics and distribution guy. So between Amazon and UPS and PepsiCo and Frito-Lay and Coca-Cola, there's those types of jobs that I'm be focusing on because they are large into logistics and distribution. And then where do you expect your projections to be? Okay, this is now May, so I have 7 months worth of revenue. What do I think I want to make? And I'll say how much, how to help you with that as well. What are your projections? Because like anything else, you want to go and review this on a weekly basis. A couple more things to add plan in your business plan. Are you going to have any kind of product? You know, sometimes, most of the time when you're a contract-based laborer in your employment agreement, anything that you build is going to be the property of your client, and that should be true. That's the way it works. However, you may be able to see a market opportunity based upon a contract that you sign that you're doing. A classmate of my son was working for a venture capital company, and they purchased this startup that was designing a particular formula, a particular drug, and he recognized that the drug industry, the pharmaceutical industry, doesn't have a valid, solid model determining how quickly a drug absorbs into the body. And I'm sorry, I dumbed it down because that's the only way I can understand it. But they spend millions of dollars to figure out how quickly a Tylenol can dissolve in your body. Well, he created a mathematical model that would help, based upon different parameters, can determine how quickly it's absorbed into your body. And he created a company for that, and is now he himself has now got venture money, and he started a company around this mathematical model. So nothing inappropriate, nothing unethical. He was on an assignment that he was working. He found a business problem, and he created his company around that. That's the things that you want to think about. Organizational structure. You know, hey, I know a lot of people now that are decision makers. I'm going to get a whole project. I'm going to come in and I'm going to need a marketing person and a finance person and 3 IT people and quality control. Next thing you know, okay, and these guys are my SWAT team. I'm bringing every one of my clients. Well, there you go. All of a sudden, your business plan should have some sort of organizational structure. Are you going to hire people? How are you going to hire? And then administrative tasks. A lot of us that move into contracting like to do a particular unit of work. We don't like to fill out time cards. We don't like to invoice. I like to cash the check, but we don't like to record our hours and everything like that. Well, you know what? There are a number of things out there that will do that for you, but you need to decide, is that something you want to do, or is that something you're going to pay for someone else to do? Those are all the things. And you need to have a social media presence. How are you going to do that? You need to determine that. So those are the things to start with. Number one. Next thing. Okay, now I'm ready. I got my business plan. What's next? Okay, marketing yourself. Okay, how are you going to tell people what you're doing? How do you want to say? I remember one time when I started my business, nobody, the term was headhunter, right? The term was always someone that's stalking someone. And then a friend of mine said, hey, aren't you helping people find jobs? Aren't you getting people working in better opportunities? I said, why are you so quiet? I never talk about that. You know, he said, tell everybody that you're doing and how you do that. Same thing holds true here. If you're going to be a consultant in the finance industry for doing forensic accounting, that's not finance, but in the accounting industry doing forensic accounting, or you're a social media person that understands marketing, you know, you want to tell anyone you can. You want your social media to show that. You want your LinkedIn to be there. You can. It's so cheap to create websites. You want to do all those things, and it's a way to add experience to your resume. So the difference now is you don't want to look at yourself. Well, I've been at Texas Instruments for 25 years. I am really good in semiconductor. Well, but you also may be a very good engineer. You may be very good at a particular skill. Use those skills. Who else would want engineering skills, not just semiconductor companies? And start looking at, and that's how, remember, you're now targeting some other companies and some other industries. You now want to highlight your engineering skills as opposed to your semiconductor skills. And that's what you want to do. And then how is that going to solve someone else's problem? You know, a lot of times people talk about, you got to have a good fit. You've got to have a nice work-life balance. You got to fit into the culture. You have to remember, from a hiring authority, the simple thing that you should always try to focus your mindset on is they are hiring to solve a problem. So everything that comes out of your mouth should be based upon how you helping them solve that problem. And the same thing holds true in marketing yourself. What problems are you trying to solve with potential employers? How are you going to do that based upon your engineering skills or whatever skills or background that you have? That's what I think is important there. So here's a big one. I just thought about this yesterday, and I should have, so hopefully this will make sense. How am I going to put what to charge? I don't know what to charge. A lot, as much as I can, right? Well, you need a benchmark. So let's go through this, and I'm going to try to make it fairly straightforward because you may be doing this on the fly and you don't want to make it complicated. Fly being, hey, I have this job and here's the rate. Are you interested? Well, here's a quick way to figure out if it's going to be worth your while or not. So let's take this example. Let's say you want to target an annual salary of 120K. Okay, using your full-time background, you want a 120K salary. So simply put, and again, I'm trying to put this in a simple formula. Let's take your target salary and divide it by 2,000. I know typically in a year it's 2,080, but for math, it's easier to say 2,000. So 120K salary divided by 2,000 is about $60 an hour. So if someone's talking to you, I had this marketing manager position, I really need someone to help, and I'm going to pay you $18.75 an hour. That's not going to be close to what you're looking for. I'm paying $32 an hour. No, right? Before 32 an hour, that's not bad. That's 150 a day. Yeah. No, here's what. Okay, but however, now that's just in your contract rate. That's just for your work effort. But remember, we talked about disadvantages. You got to pay your taxes. You got to pay your benefits. You got to plan for gaps. You got to pay your training, healthcare, all these things. Generally speaking, again, in general terms, for those types of things, you want to add about $10 an hour. Yes, 15 safer and more, you can have 3 weeks off between every contract. $8 is maybe make you more competitive, and you just hope that you don't have gaps. But again, let's just do $10 to $12 an hour. So what I say, if you want to target a salary of 120K, your target contract rate is $70 an hour. That would be your target. We could say, Rick, what is you said up to $12? Okay, 72. Now, recruiters like to hear this, and a lot of companies like to hear this. So if my target contract rate is 70 an hour, if someone's talking to me, what are you looking for this job? I would say, well, I'm looking between 68 and 75. And the reason why I like ranges is because that gives everybody some flexibility. Oh, well, I'm thinking about 65, 66 an hour. Well, okay, let's say they're talking about 66 an hour. Remember, you need 60 an hour just to make your salary. Well, okay, they offer you 66. So $6 is less than what you want for benefits and taxes and all. But there's your chance. Well, I really want, was targeting more. Can this be 100% remote? What if I bring somebody else on to do that other job for you? Can we do that? This is the way that to help augment that difference in money or so. So when you give a range, you have the dialogue to see if that's not working, or it's a way for you to have for the dialogue not to stop but to continue on. That's the whole goal there. And he says, oh, okay, 75 works great because I was going to pay 80. All right, that's great. And then in the back of your mind, you think in 3 months, I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to go ask for 80. And guess what? You already proved yourself, and that's usually a very easy sell at that point. So, and you can use this kind of formula, whether if you're looking for 200K annually, 200K is about $100 an hour, plus then add about 15 now, so it's 115 an hour. That's what you're looking at. Again, the reason why I say 2,000, use this formula, it's very easy to do in your head. You can do it, just as in a simple dialogue. You don't have to get a calc. Hold on, wait a minute, let me get a pencil and paper. You can do this real quickly and have a natural conversation. So that's why I use this as a formula. Does anybody have any questions on this? Is this, again, a fair idea about things?
There are a
Okay.
couple questions people have asked. Number one, Karen asked, do you view contracting and consulting as the same thing?
Usually consulting, you can charge $10 an hour more. So that's what I say. I always say I'm doing consulting work. Contract work is the guy that climbs on your roof and does roofing, or the guy that fixes your plumbing. You're a consultant, you're providing professional knowledge. So I try to use the word consulting more often than not. It elevates the conversation to a more professional level.
Okay. And then a second question is, who writes the contract between the contractor individual and the company client? Any guidance on it? Should a lawyer be hired?
If you have a lawyer, yes. Generally speaking, the hiring authority, the person that is writing the check, writes the contract. And just like any other contract, when they present that to you, you can have a dialogue of things you want to change. if they don't have one, the internet's very kind about showing you independent contractor agreements. We don't have the time. There are some different types of contract. People said there's a W-2 contract, there's a 1099, there's a corp to corp. If we have time, I can talk about the differences there. But generally speaking, and again, the larger the company, the more that they will have the contract for you to write. But you can always reach out to me. I can give you a simple contract you can use as well, because you know what, if that gets you working, that's all the better for everybody. So, but just remember, just because they give it to you and it's all pretty in black and white and it's 7 pages long, you should read it and you should understand it, and it's okay to push back.
I have a
So in
question.
oh, go ahead, Deb. Go ahead, Deborah.
How often do you see retainers? My previous employer, and the person reported to me, was a contract event coordinator with what I would say was a really sweet gig. She had a retainer not tied to hours and not tied to outcomes, and billed at the first of the month for X amount of dollars. So if there was a really busy month, she was really busy, she got the same amount of money. If there was not a busy month, she got the same amount of money. How often do you see that? I tend to think my previous employer was a one-off in that situation, because usually I don't see retainers very often. But what I do see in the people that I know that are making a nice living at this, they don't have one contract, they have 5 or 6 or 7 at the same time.
Yeah. Now, I apologize because, again, my background is only IT professional services. And for that, and for people, I call them frenemies, other people that are doing the same type of job, that never happens. I've never seen a retainer. So yeah,
Okay.
That's a sweet gig, and they should have it as long as they want. So, and the other thing that kind of brings up is, let's say, again, at least in this slide here right now, it's a $70 contract rate. Let's say the person says, I can only offer you 60. Maybe you only negotiate a 25 or 30-hour work week, because you're going to have a second client. The second client only needs you 10 hours a week, and they're able to pay you 90 an hour. So there's your chance to go ahead and get the salary target that you want, and having multiple. So again, with contract work, you have some flexibility in negotiation, whether it's rate or remote or on-site or equipment. Sometimes contract work, people will ask you to bring your own equipment, your own desktop or laptop, and all. So all those things should be taken into account. But from a retained standpoint, no, I've never seen it.
We've got a couple more questions here. Lily asked, if I'm already covered for medical expense, how do I adjust the hourly rate in order to be fairly compensated for the medical benefits that I will not need or will not avail myself of?
That's how I started consulting, because my wife was a full-time employee and you can't be double insured. So that's the whole reason why I went into contract work. You still keep that same target rate, and now you're just going to make more money. Okay. So you don't tell them that. Yeah. And if they ask you well, is your spouse covered, or do you already have health insurance? I said, that's part of my contract agreement. So yes, you don't discount things. What happens when you discount, you set the new bar. No one ever comes back and tries to pay you more. They're only going to, so don't ever, discount someone just because you have something else covered.
Okay. Mark asked, please comment on professional liability insurance. How much does it cost? Does it require your company to be incorporated? Do you need to get personal business liability insurance for a one-person company?
So yeah, so 2 things with that, and again, that's another long conversation. And I'm not your tax advisor. Well, I'm also not your legal advisor, so I'm sorry about that. But as an independent contractor, most companies don't expect you to have liability insurance, and if they do, it's better to go through a staffing recruiting company for that, because it is extremely expensive. As an individual contractor, you're like the hired gun. You're like being brought on either because the company is trying to be as cost effective as possible, as well as they have a particular single need. And if they're, let's say if they're a Bank of America, they're not going to work with just an individual Joe Smith DBA. They're going to work with ABC Staffing Company because they're going to hold ABC Staffing Company to have that contract with Bank of America. They're going to have to demonstrate the liability insurance and the workman's comp and the errors and omissions and the cyber insurance and all the other things that are important. So I wouldn't worry about getting it. If someone requires it, let's say you're going to go work for Austin Construction and they need your specialized skill, but they push you to get that insurance, here would be my two recommendations. Either number one, ask them, okay, I prefer not to have that. Do you have a preferred vendor I can work through? I be under their umbrella, but I still need to protect my rate. If we agree to 90 an hour, then you may have to pay ABC Staffing 120 an hour for me, but now I'm working for ABC Staffing. Or you can tell them I can go out and get insurance and it's going to cost me $14,000. So I'm going to take my $90 an hour plus 14,000 divided by whatever it is. And yeah, now my 90 an hour is now 110 because I got to pay that insurance just for your requirements. That's the way I would handle it in those situations.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, here's why it's a great time to be in the market. I can't tell you how many times I get this. Summer's coming up. I hear the pool calling me. The kid's going to go to summer camp. I'm taking the summer off. I'm working. Good for you because you're going to be able to have more opportunities while they're getting a tan, or maybe I should say getting burnt. This is the best time. You want hiring in second and third quarter is the biggest. You know, fourth quarter is hit or miss. So you want to take advantage of and don't go down that path of taking parts of the summer off. Okay, we are going through better economic times. I remember I showed you 99,000 jobs were added this past month. We expect it to be over 100,000 again here in May. So we are getting better. The best way to think of that is just don't listen to the news. I mean, last year in COVID 2020, we grew 24%. And people ask me, how did you do it, Rick? What did you do? I said, I didn't listen to the news. I just went after it and got opportunities, especially here in North Texas. North Texas is hiring so many opportunities, but you do have to work for it. Companies are being selective. They're not going to say, you got a pulse, you're hired. No, they are still being very selective, but you have the most opportunities to go after that. So when you're less competition means you're going to be able to get through the hiring process faster. And you want to have a chance to get hiring while everybody else is trying to figure out in September that they're going to start looking for a job again. So that's why you want to do this now. Follow me, please. And then you want to be creative. Remember I showed that one slide about the broadcasting and about consumer divisions, and like Uber's got a big presence here in town now. You want to find new creative companies that are being announced. I mean, Caterpillar announced that they're moving down here. I would be looking at all of the jobs at Caterpillar's Bloomington location and making reaches out. Why would I want to apply in Bloomington, Illinois? Because we don't know which ones are going to be moved down here. And you can say, I could work up there for a month before you get moved down here to Dallas. Oh, well, we don't have that job. I can get you in touch with the manager because he doesn't know how he's going to fill those positions. So again, you got to be creative and inventive to use. Don't just do the same thing you're doing before in hoping to get that right job. You got to add new creative ways to go and seek out those new industries and research them there. You know, the pit crew is real good about saying researching the company, not only for the interview as you go and apply. And I'm sure you've heard it from countless times from each of the different networking groups. Only as a last resort do you apply online. Go find that connection on LinkedIn and badger them to help them forward your resume to the right place. Okay, maybe not badger, too strong of a word. Engage with them, have some dialogue with them, find a connection with them, you know, tell them how great you like their profile picture, and then maybe they'll tell you, you know what, here's the person you need to talk to, okay? But don't go down that path and do that, and you'll find those opportunities. And you know what, there's both those contract positions out there as well. So, and then make recruiters, make us part of your job search. You want to engage with recruiters because recruiters typically are the only ones that know about the Bank of America jobs, the Bank of America contract jobs. They're the only ones that know of the HP Enterprise contract jobs. They're the only ones because they are the ones that have dedicated sales professionals going out to those companies and understanding what those needs are. So find them, connect with them, find those trusted 3 to 5 that you will go and have a dialogue in there. The other thing about them, once you create that dialogue, they'll come back and tell you, say, hey, I found this job, and most of the good ones will say, they'll work with you for the Bank of America and the PepsiCo and the JP and Morgan Chase. But let's say you found a job with Larry's Construction. Hey, I'm looking for a finance man. I've had a dialogue with this company and they're talking to me about a finance manager position. I think I need 70 an hour. They're offering me 50 an hour. What do you think, Mr. Recruiter? Oh, construction is a little bit different. Construction, because they're only working with, laborers, and they half the time they pay them in cash at the end of the day. For construction, for a small, independent, yeah, I think 50 is probably going to be reasonable. They'll give you, the recruiters will give you that kind of dialogue or benchmark, or they say, well, I don't know, Larry's Construction, we see that happening right now, and they're paying 70 and 80. All right, well, there you go. You're not talking to the right person, the right decision maker, but they will give you that kind of insight and they'll help you negotiate that. They answer the questions that come up. Well, they're talking about 1099. What's 1099? I don't understand. Well, 1099 means this. What's a corp to corp? Well, corp means that. Does that include LLC? Well, they'll help you educate some of those things. Just don't talk, don't be bothering them every day, but if you give them insight and you give them things, then that's their dialogue. That's where our job as a recruiter, to build a long-term relationship, because the best recruiters understand most of you on this call are senior professionals that are highly experienced and educated. And we know selfishly, that at some point you're going to be hired in a decision process. And we hope that when we call you to help fill your needs, that you'll talk to us and return our call. So it's reciprocated. So that's what we want to do. You want to build those things. And there are recruiters out there that won't give you the time of day. And you know what? That's okay. Just move on, because that's not their industry. So, okay. Now, that's about the big things. We can talk a little bit more about what does corp to corp or W2 mean or anything like that. But what else can I answer for everybody?
Well, Christina just happened to put a comment when talking about personal liability, saying check with your professional organizations. Some professional engineer friends have bought their insurance through a professional organization.
That's all true. And sometimes the hiring company has the insurance that they want from it's got to be a AAA from these 3 companies. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. Questions anybody has? Deborah, I see you.
Question.
Yeah.
Back last fall and early this year, I applied for 2 separate positions online to one of the companies you mentioned that has moved to the North Texas region and is out in Westlake. About a month ago, I got reached out to by a recruiter, not specifically for either one of those positions. She just said, hi, I am at this company. And I called her back and never heard from her. It was a donor relations position. What I came to figure out was that position is probably more of a call center position, which isn't where I would excel on their behalf. But I was wondering if there's any merit, even though she never returned my call, to reaching out back to her again to see if anything's moved now that the air quotes economy is opening up.
By all means. And so 2 things. Recruiters, generally speaking, we're lazy. Okay, what can we do at the most efficient, fastest way so we can be done with it? So what may have happened, and this is just one interpretation, is she reached out to you because of the need. There was that need that she thought she could be a fit for, and then the position may have got filled, or the position got put on hold, or somebody else came in with another position that was going to give her more money, more commission. So that position is no longer of high interest. So you waited a couple of weeks. Perfect. Great idea, Deb, to go back and reach out to her. Hey, you reached out to me back on this date. I gave you a call, but I guess we missed each other. My background is this. Was that opportunity still available? Is there other opportunities? Because a lot of times positions cycle through, and once value people get added on there, they understand, oh, we thought we needed 2, we really need 12, so there could be another chance there. And at the same time now, recruiters more likely to talk to you knowing that they first reached out to you, because they're not going to call you to say, I like your hair. They're going to call you because they're trying to think they could hire you. And so there may be say, you know what, that position was closed, but we have another ABC company that is also looking for this. So again, that might be a way to go ahead and do that. So
And
that
a
would be my
second
approach.
question, just real quickly, if I may, I'm assuming I can do this, but I'm starting to see positions that I've applied for resurface as if they've come off hold. So if an internal corporate recruiter reached out to me initially, can I circle back with a direct message through LinkedIn, or just picking up their original email and replying back again saying, I just wanted to touch base. I see that the economy is opening up and things are starting to move. I was wondering if your needs have changed. I'm still interested in XYZ company. That's all I got. That's as far as I got.
No, sure, but by all means, I would definitely do that. I would use the email thread that they sent, so you can see that they understand that what their dialogue was to you, and by all means go back and rehab that dialogue. Now, the only other thing I'd bring up is along that same process is, let's say you go and my example is you go and you applied to this company in Westlake, and you applied to them directly, and now a recruiter calls you a month later and says, hey, I have this job, it's in Westlake, it's for this kind of role, are you interested? It's in your best interest and in fairness to the recruiter to say, yes, of course. However, I applied to this job back a month ago, 3 months ago. Okay, because what could happen is that the company at times may say, we own Deb, we own her candidacy, thanks recruiter, but we can't work with you. And so the recruiter has just spent a lot of time and livelihood helping you when the opportunity was. Now he can go back and say, you know what, you need to go back and follow up because that's the same job. And since you applied, I can't be able to help you there. Okay. So it's, and now most cases, some companies have a 90-day rule. After 90 days, any candidate can be applied for anything. Sometimes it's a 6-month rule. And the recruiters know what those rules are per company because it does change. But to respect the recruiter's time, because they aren't paid unless there's a placement, you just want to give them that information. And they'll come back and say, well, I'm not sure. That doesn't matter because this is a different job. And they'll help you that way because their goal is to get you placed on their behalf.
Now, so far, all my recruiter interaction has been with internal recruiters, not retained or contingency recruiters. So, but thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Sounds like you got to add a couple contingency to your list.
Yes, I'm going to start doing that now.
Any other questions for Rick? Anybody else have a question? Just unmute your mic.
Yeah, Rick. Okay, so I'm on the flip side of things. It's hard to find a recruiter in my area, so that's the tough part. But you talked about in the slide about connecting in and hopefully getting that person to help you with the job or what have you. And that's great. And I don't disagree with you because most of the time that does work. The problem is there's also the side of it. If you wait too long because you're trying to connect in with them, what have you, the job gets filled. So it's kind of a 50-50 for me that I found out recently. One person was very annoyed that I already applied online because they had an employee referral system. And I said, well, I was always told by many people, if you wait, you will rule yourself out because you have to apply a lot of times on those ATS. They don't like it. Then on the flip side, if you do wait a little, maybe it'll help you more. I mean, I know there's no right or wrong answer, but I will say on the positive, I haven't waited. I've applied however it's asked me, but at the same time, I'm immediately going to LinkedIn and working my way in. And that's how I would imagine I got pretty much every one of my recent interviews because I was doing what you preached and of course, what other people preach. Am I wrong in that it's kind of just a hit or miss, to each their own attitude?
Well, first I want to say dilly for going to LinkedIn and finding the folks. So I'm happy for you doing that. Second thing is that the interview process, in most cases, you have plenty of time. Unfortunately, for staffing companies, placement firms, the interview process is at an accelerated pace, 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm sure some of you have seen it when you get interviews, the delay in interview process. So waiting too long, as long as you're within a month of the job posting, you're probably still in the game. So that's what I would say there. One way that you're going to increase your chances, and you can disagree with me, is try not to pursue jobs on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, on Indeed. Go to other websites before you go to Indeed. And I know why people like Indeed. People like Indeed because all the jobs get funneled into one place, and they just have to go and look one place, or one website, one login, rock in their chair, drink their coffee, and scroll through jobs. But you got to remember, Indeed is an aggregator. It goes and fetches jobs from various boards across the month. So it may pull a job from Dr. Pepper Carrick. It may pull a job from their website on May 1st. And here it is, May 14th, and you're looking on Indeed and you see that job. It's already 2 weeks old, and you're looking at it for the first day. Whereas if Dr. Pepper Carrick was one of your target companies, you'd be looking at them every day. And back on May 1st, you would see that they posted the job, and then you could start your research on LinkedIn to find a connection there. So that's how you don't impact the delay in or using the tools that you have to find a connection on LinkedIn there. And that's why we always highly suggest people don't go to Indeed, because you never know when that job was pulled from there. That's my 50-cent advice to anyone.
Well, and let me just add a tip for everybody that's on here that I learned that I didn't know. I applied for a job off LinkedIn. I always go to the website of the company. When I applied for the job off LinkedIn, it took me to an aggregator, not the actual website of the company or even Indeed or anything, which was weird. So I wanted some information about the job. It was too basic. I reached out to someone at the company. The company said, well, did you apply online? I said, yeah, through LinkedIn, yes, but your post, it's half the post you need, something's missing, and it doesn't take me to your company website. So there's two things I found out. First of all, the aggregator, LinkedIn has allowed aggregators to buy stuff off them. So they steal, they kind of, I hate to use the word steal, but they take it and use it for their own. And then two, you always should check the company website to see if the job is listed, because you can do the LinkedIn, but the easy apply, I didn't know this. This is coming from directly from a recruiter, internal recruiter. So Rick, I'm just saying what she said. She said, we use easy apply because people are lazy nowadays and don't want to fill out an application for 2 hours. So we do get your resumes, and we do use that. You can go on the ATS if you want, if we have it, but if you use easy apply, it's not just going into a black hole. We do get all of those, and we do encourage people, if it says easy apply, to hit that button. So that was just something that I learned I didn't know.
Great advice. All right. Well, Rick, thank you very much. Great information. Rick had his LinkedIn profile. Oops, let's see here. Had his LinkedIn profile up there. If you're interested in connecting with Rick, be sure to send him a personal note. We always talk about, if you're going to reach out to somebody, send that personal note. Just don't click the connect button and do the generic invitation. Let Rick know that you saw him here this morning. Great information. You know, I think it's probably one of the most uncomfortable thing for at least people in my age group. You know, we've always worked full time for other people. To take that leap and to jump into contract work, I think is very scary for a lot of us, because it's a lot of other moving parts that we've never had to deal with before. So I think you laid it out very well, and, you know, how to come up with a basic rate. And I think, you know, some really good information to, you know, help people maybe, you know, consider those jobs right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next week, our speaker will be Rick Gillis. He'll talk about the job search process. So you're welcome to join us again next week. And you'll find out about the QTNT personal value calculation process. He explained it to me when we were talking on the phone, but I don't really quite remember it, but he'll go into it. And he actually has a new book coming out here in another month or two that goes into the details on this. Let's see here. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat box or into the comment field on Facebook, please do so. Let us know who you are, name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, a couple target companies, then hit the return key. For those people on Facebook, if you put the information in Facebook, I will go and delete that information right after the presentation. So it won't be hanging out there forever and ever with the video. And I will put all that information to an email this afternoon, along with Rick's PDF of Rick's presentation, in case you want to capture any of the data that he showed us. I will pass that along also. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 5 days a week now. So come join us, lunch and learn every day at 1 o'clock. Let's see here. Women of Wisdom is not meeting until next week. They meet the first and third Fridays of the month at 1 o'clock. So, see, I'm not sharing my data with you. Let's see here. Here we go. So that'll be next Friday. Women of Wisdom will be meeting next Friday at 1 o'clock. Next Monday at 1 o'clock for Networking Mondays, we're going to talk about remote networking. Our speaker, Stephanie Michelle, wrote a book called The Confident Introvert. So I'm sure a lot of you are introverts out there. It should be an interesting presentation about networking. On Tuesday, Terry Sullivan will be with us to talk about how to create a LinkedIn brand that tells your key contacts who you are, what you do, and how you help. This event will not be recorded, so if you want to see it, you do need to tune in next Tuesday at 1 o'clock live. On Wednesday, as we've mentioned before, for Interviewing Wednesday, session 3 of 13, Star Stories, a deep dive. And then every Thursday, we talk about effective resumes, resume tips and tricks. So you can join us on Thursday. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It will take a couple hours for YouTube to get this video uploaded, but we'll get it up there as soon as YouTube will do the processing. On the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Click on playlist, and then underneath, click where it says view full playlist, where you see the red arrow. Don't click on the video, but when you do that, up will come all the different topics that we've had over the last year. And you can go back, if you're looking for a certain topic on something, you'll be able to go back and find that there. So thank you for joining us today. Have a great weekend. I do want to let everybody know about, I just got an email a couple minutes ago that Kip Lipson and, let me see here, Kip Lipson and Mike Ray will be doing their presentation on how to identify and research target companies. That will be next Wednesday at 12 o'clock. So if you're interested, I will put the information on the Career DFW website. So you can go there, there's a Zoom link, and you'll be able to jump in and watch that presentation. It's a great presentation on how to use reference solutions, which used to be Reference USA. And if you don't have a list of target companies, it's a great way to go back and do that. So everybody have a great weekend. Rick, once again, thank you for your time. And everybody else, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week one day.